Alright, so what I wanted to do today was go over a couple of story points and characters that have been introduced to us in 7 and 8 and kind of been left on the side and haven't been mentioned since their arrival. So I kind of want to bring those to light again, briefly go over where we last saw that thing take place, and then talk about what it could mean in the future. So without further ado, let's get into the list of unfinished storylines currently in Resident Evil. So let's talk about the more likely one to be continued in the next game first, and that is the BSAA going corrupt. Now at the end of Resident Evil Village, well, mainly in the Chris section, the BSAA turn up and try and help contain the Megamycete and fail horrifically. And then as the game comes to a final close, you find out that the BSAA were not sending in soldiers, they were sending in bioweapons. Now this is a huge deal for past games and Chris as a whole, because the BSAA are the bioterrorism counterforce. Like, they're there to deal with the situation when it comes up, and then for them to be using bioweapons to fight bioweapons is completely against what they stand for. So understandably, Chris is pissed, and at the end of the game he orders his team to go straight to European HQ to BSAA and make them pay for what they've done. So that kind of ends there. That's probably more likely going to be the continuation of the story in RE9, especially considering that now Capcom have confirmed that the Winter's expansion does conclude the Winter storyline. So maybe in RE9 the BSAA are at the forefront, you've got Chris, Jill, all the old BSAA members are coming back to fight back and find out what's going on. That's my leading theory for RE9 right now, but yeah, BSAA being corrupt is a big point to bring up. Next up we have the new Umbrella. Now this is an interesting one. This was present in Resident Evil 7, more exclusively at the very end. So Chris turns up and he's with a team of Umbrella soldiers, and they got this new blue logo. And if you play through the Not Hero DLC, obviously he has like someone comms with him, and she's talking about how Umbrella are trying to make up for what they've done and be a different company. Whether that's something that Capcom are continuing to do, I'm not too sure, because it hasn't been mentioned once in Resident Evil Village. The only thing I can kind of see in regards to it in Village is when you're playing through the Chris section and you heal yourself, he has syringes that still have that blue Umbrella logo on them. So whether that's just a reused asset from 7 because it's the same healing item, or if it just kind of signifies that he's still working with them in some sense, we don't know. But bringing Umbrella back, it is possible. It's a massive deal with, Resident Evil as a whole. It's literally the start of the game series. From the very beginning, Umbrella have been involved, so to have them come back in some way is only a matter of time, I would say. Staying on topic with Resident Evil 7 for a moment, we have Zoe Baker. Now Zoe Baker was the sole survivor, apart from Ethan and Mia, of the Baker family during the main game. Obviously she gets infected, but is saved by her uncle Joe, and then Chris, obviously, and his team take her away and heal her from her condition, which is good. And there is a bit of lore in Village that is from the perspective of Zoe, and it's in the Baker incident report, and she's basically investigating why it's being covered up, who's covering up, and what's going on. From what we can tell from that piece of information, she is aware that the BSAA is not who they should be, and they're doing things in a really shady type of way, which does lead into the story possibly of RE9 with the BSAA. So it's potential she could return in the next game. She was a good character, and she has a lot of ties to especially the modern games, with her being a pretty significant character in 7, and then again pretty significant in terms of, now we know that she's investigating the BSAA, maybe she's involved in some way with the next game. But again, that being said, she's part of the Winter's story, so maybe she's going to be sidelined as well. I'd hope not, because having conclusion there would be good too. Alright, so now the big one. This one has been present since Resident Evil 7 and is briefly mentioned again in that Baker incident report, but not touched or mentioned ever since, and that is the Connections. Now the Connections are the company that essentially sell bioweapons on the black market to the highest bidder, and what's more important about the Connections is Mia was one of them. Like, you find out at the end of 7 and through again that Baker incident report that she was one of the Connections. She is one of the people that created Evelyn in the first place. So she's technically a bioterrorist, and through that lore piece, you find out that Chris is keeping her under protection and keeping her safe as long as she helps him track down the Connections. We have names tied to them. There are some older higher-ups from the original Umbrella that are working with the Connections, so whether they're trying to set the Connections up as the new evil Umbrella and have this other blue Umbrella be the good guys, I'm not too sure. But even with Lucas, Lucas was also in talks with the Connections, so having them be such a pivotal point to two characters from both games, and then not mention them again is an interesting decision. So hopefully they're involved in some way, again, maybe with the BSAA storyline being a key part of RE9, we do see them kind of come to the forefront in some fashion, but we can only hope. But that's essentially the bigger ones that are currently in place that haven't been kind of fleshed out yet. There's a small amount of other ones that are quite small in comparison, i.e., where's Jill Valentine? Where is any of them? Where's Claire? Where's Leon? Where's Jill? We've seen Chris for the past 2 games, and that's it. So having some kind of information about where they are in the next game, which I would imagine, I'm going to say it now, at least one other character will be in the next game. I'm pretty confident about that. But having to kind of find out where they are and what they're doing now, I think all we really know is last time we heard from Jill, she was basically in rehabilitation from the end of RE5. As for Leon and Claire and whatnot, we're not too sure. So having them come back in some way is more likely to happen in RE9 now that the winter story has been concluded. But yeah, that's pretty much going to do it. Let me know which of those storylines you want to see come to the forefront more. For me personally, I would want to see the connections be fleshed out more. They were really interesting. I did like the idea of being like a black market bioweapons dealer group that were basically the new evil umbrella. That was really cool to see, but to not have it come to the forefront yet is a bit of an interesting decision. But I'm sure maybe you guys think a different story should be more focused on. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. But yeah, thank you all for watching, thank you all for coming by. Remember to leave a like on the video and subscribe for more Resident Evil content, and I'll catch you in the next one.